about this. Time. Well, we might start. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Aboriginal Community Housing a Specialist Sector session, and we welcome you here all this morning. My name is Paula Coghill. I will be your facilitator, and it's a pleasure to be facilitating this session with three wonderful, talented women, sisters. And I just want to do a little bit of housekeeping, but first of all, I'd like to say that I am a Bundjalung woman from northern New South Wales, from the Wallabal clan, which is part of the Federation of Nations just over the border. And I want to acknowledge that I am on Meanjin this morning on country, which is also my children's country, and I pay my respects to the Yagara Mugunjin, as well as Turrbal people and Quandamuka, as well as Jandai language as well. And it's good to be here this morning, and I want to pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging, and also to remember the footprints that have gone before us here this morning. So just a bit of housekeeping. The session is being streamed and recorded and will be available for delegates to view after the conference. Today we'll be taking questions both online and from in the room. For those joining us online, please use the Q&A tab on the right of your screen. You'll also find a copy of any presentations in the handouts section, again on the right-hand side of your screen. For those who are in the room, if you have any questions, we ask that you please keep your questions succinct and enable us to get through as many as possible. Before I introduce today's presenters, I'd also like to acknowledge the people who have lived experience of housing vulnerability who are at the conference either as presenters or delegates. Your voices are important in shaping better housing outcomes for the future. Now to today's session in Aboriginal housing, a specialist sector. I would like to introduce three ladies who are going to speak this morning. And first up, we have Tina Ugle, is a proud Noongar yoga woman from Balladong and Neward with Wajik connections, and Managing Director for Noongar Mia Mia. Tina has worked in the Indigenous housing sector for over 3 decades and is passionate about making a difference. Tina was a board member of the Noongar Maya from 2015 to 2017 and appointed Managing Director in 2018. Tina is a Director on the NHC and is involved in various working parties with homelessness and housing sector in Western Australia. Most recently, Tina was appointed to the Housing First Homelessness Advisory Group and the Department of Communities to progress the implementation of All Paths Lead to Home WA 10-year strategy on homeless. Please welcome Tina.
Now I'm going to try and pronounce this Yumba word, but first of all I'd like to acknowledge the Yagara people as the traditional custodians of Meanjin. Yeah, well, the lands on which this conference has been held today. I'd also like to pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging, and to you know, all the blackfellas in the audience today. I'm really excited and a little bit nervous to be speaking today, and I just want to talk today about capacity building and engagement. So on behalf, I'm excited to speak on behalf of our group of 4 WA Aboriginal community housing organisations. So I'm going to use the acronym ACOs because it's too long. So we have a steering group. So we have a partnership with Southern Aboriginal Corporation, which is based in Albany, Murchison Regional Aboriginal Corporation, based in Geraldton, and Goldfields Indigenous Housing Organisation based in Kalgoorlie. So we have developed a partnership prospectus, which should be showing, and this is in support with Shelter WA, have been our biggest supporters. Shout out to Paula here today. And it's also been supported by WA Lotteries West. I just want to touch on, for Aboriginal people, our culture is central to our well-being, but as a collective society, there's often conflict between Aboriginal cultural values and Anglo-Australian culture values, putting us in positions where we need to make untenable cultural compromises to become deserving of a home or to stay in a home. The United Nations Declarations on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples highlights that culture is our right, but self-advocating for that right can be exhausting and distressing, and so is explaining our cultural needs to workers and organisations. Programs are often designed by others for us without actively listening or even asking, what is it we need? Even though that the Australian government has recognised for decades the self-determination is key to closing the gap, more needs to be done to resource Aboriginal organisations to make it happen. All of us ACOs are also not-for-profit, 100% owned and operated. So real reconciliation is often put in the too hard basket, but our communities have the solutions, as per the discussion yesterday, and we just need to be listened to and given the support to drive a change. This prospectus, which is currently showing, is a product and summary of the first stage of our capacity building project as an ACO group. On the foundation built by this first stage of the project, the ACOs and Shelter WA successfully applied to support from the Sisters of St John of God, who are also one of our biggest funders, to continue capacity building work into its second stage. The second stage of the capacity building project commenced in 22, with the ACOs working on improvements in compliance across asset management and all areas of our business operations. In late 22, Shelter WA appointed a project coordinator role, supported by the sisters to assist us to complete the work required to achieve registration as a community housing organisation in compliance with the WA regulation framework. I'm very pleased to report that both Noongar and Marak Merchants and Aboriginal Corporation, in particular Noongar will start our registration process on the 6th of November, which is a huge outcome for us. So thanks to the support of our partners, achieving registration will indicate our organisations are capable of managing risk, not just at the current size of our business, but also with the capacity to manage new projects and the expansion of our housing stock to a scale that meets the needs of our communities. Noongar currently have 97 properties, which is quite small compared to other housing providers. So, I would like to show you guys a video on Noongar and what we do that explains our services a little bit more, and you'll hear from some of our tenants the impact that Noongar has made in their lives. Thank you.
At Noongar, our vision is grounded in a fundamental belief that every individual has the right to a home, a place where they can forge deep cultural connections, exercise their choices, and determine their destiny. Our mission centres around 5 core principles: the right to a home with cultural connections, choice and self-determination, strengthening spirit, flexible cultural appropriate support, and cultural appropriate and active engagement.
Noongar is a not-for-profit Aboriginal community housing provider that provides accommodation for Aboriginal people, in particular Noongar people. Our purpose is to ensure that our mob are housed in safe and affordable housing in Noongar Budja. We have a tenancy support service called Bulu Mort, where we provide support to our tenants in the homes to ensure that they sustain their tenancies. Maya is a partnership that we have with Wanjaning. It's a facility where it houses up to 65 people that are homeless. We have a Noongar Housing First training program where we go out to organisations and educate and train them on how to work with their Aboriginal tenants. We also have a program called Thangiah that services our mob on the streets and also in the homes to ensure that they can find accommodation and look after their health and well-being.
Some of these people have been on the streets for up to 20 years. So they've forgotten what it's like to have a house, and they've forgotten what it's like to budget and to buy food and pay pay rent. So when we get to them, they have nothing. They have no documents. They're nobody. And that's what they feel like themselves. And then when they get their accommodation, we help them furnish the place, help them get established in that house. We help them navigate all the services that are out there. And then as we go further in their casework, we look at helping them get their driver's licence, helping them with educational needs. So all those basic things that a lot of us kind of take for granted, that's a big thing for our guys. Going forward, it would be great if we could expand the program and get more staff. It'd be lovely to be able to get a day centre where people can come for the day, have a meal, do some art. We'd be able to just greet people and cook and teach them to cook and teach them all those living skills, bring them all together into one area and offer all of these different programs would just be ideal.
Noongar is very important. I worked with so many agencies that pretty much just threw their hands up in the air and said they couldn't help. I think there's probably a lot of families out there going through the same thing that I'm going through, and Noongar is the only one in southwest WA that could help me. I don't know really where I would be if Noongar didn't step in. I'd probably be still couch surfing with the kids.
There's no better feeling than having your own, having my kids and stable just to go to school. They're little simple things, having their own room. Just, my kids are 10 times happier than where we was. No better feeling than having our own place. And honestly, struggles that we went through to just, I've moved in with nothing. My mama helped with everything. Kids even got clothes, pillows, sheets, blankets. You even helped with, the food just to get us out of that situation. And honestly, I don't know what we would have done.
If you follow what's in here, I reckon I'll be on the streets. But what my does, it's unbelievable. And there for everyone, not only me, for everyone. And when I got a house with you, Mob, it was good. You helped me a lot. You done everything for me. Looked after me. You might say you fed me. I never looked back.
We are committed to working hand in hand with our community, our partners and our supporters to build not just houses, but homes that are filled with love, culture and a sense of belonging. Together, we can ensure that every individual, every family and every child in our community has the opportunity to experience the warmth and security of a true home.
Thank you, Tina. It's a wonderful presentation. I'd now like to call on Dushy Thangiah, is the CEO for Yumba Meta Limited, and when she joined them in 1995, she held a diverse range of senior corporate accounting roles with both in Sri Lanka and Australia. Dushy has now worked in the community housing and community services sector for over 28 years and is highly regarded advocate for vulnerable people, particularly First Nations people and people from culturally diverse backgrounds. I'd now like to introduce Dushy. Thank you.
Back in 1973, a small group of local Aboriginal people in Townsville had a shared goal: to provide housing for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander families in their community. Little did they know that their vision would evolve into Yumba Meta Limited, leading the housing and homelessness agenda, particularly for First Nations people in Queensland today. Currently providing 203 tenancies, Yumba Meta's journey began with just 8 homes. Through personal sacrifice, advocacy and determination, they pushed governments and decision makers to recognise the needs and rights of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people by providing secure, affordable and culturally appropriate accommodation and support. Yumba Meta is breaking the cycles of poverty, substance abuse and domestic violence for countless individuals and families. Under the theme, We Burra Thulgari, We Are All One Big Family, Yumba Meta Limited has grown to encompass a wide range of services tailored to individual needs and goals. Let us share some incredible statistics about the impact Yumba Meta has had. Over the past 50 years, they've helped thousands of local individuals and families. Yumba Meta Limited now provides housing to over 440 people every single day. The Reverend Charles Harris Diversionary Centre, a sobering up facility, has been a safe haven for 10,950 individuals since 2008. Flora House Women's Shelter has supported 796 women and 371 children over the past 5 years. Alisi House Women's Shelter has supported 72 women and 102 children since January 2021. The Townsville Family Violence Support Service has provided case management and counselling support to 764 females and 350 males since it commenced in 2019, and the service has provided counselling support to 324 females and 194 males since it began in 2019. From May 2020 when it launched until April 2023, 117 Indigenous males participated in the Men's Behaviour Change program. Since 2011, 2,920 clients have participated in the Breaking the Cycle program that helps First Nations people dealing with substance abuse. From 2015, Dale Parker Place has provided housing and on-site support to over 40 individuals every day. Since launching in January 2023, We Burra Thulgari Residential Care Services for Young People has supported 30 young people. Since its commencement in July 2021, the We Burra Thulgari Tutoring and Mentoring Program has provided educational support to 59 Indigenous children aged 7 to 8 years. Yumba Meta offers 13 dedicated transitional accommodations and support to Indigenous people moving to Townsville for employment, education or training from remote communities. In 2018, Yumba Meta achieved another milestone by becoming the first organisation in Townsville to build an NDIA-approved specialist disability accommodation home. They now have 8 residents in 4 SDA homes owned and managed by Yumba Meta. Coghill Patient Transition Accommodation is designed to provide short-term supported accommodation for people travelling from remote and rural communities to access Townsville University Hospital and other health services. Yumba Meta's privately funded residential estate, Hillside Gardens, spans over 20 hectares of land and includes a mix of social, affordable and specialist disability accommodation homes. The Ernest and Maud Houlihan Elders Village is a retirement village-style accommodation for older Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander residents with 16 two-bedroom homes. Yumba Meta Limited also has Housing Wise Realty, a registered not-for-profit real estate agency that offers personalised rental services in the private market. They focus on providing the best management for landlords and tenants, not just the most properties. Yumba Meta Limited has truly been a game changer in the lives of many vulnerable and disadvantaged individuals and families, especially among Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander communities. It's inspiring to see what can happen when a group of passionate people comes together to make a positive impact. Here's to another 50 years of Yumba Meta Limited, changing lives for the better.
Thank you. I'd first like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we are gathered here today and pay a special heartfelt acknowledgement and gratitude, express my gratitude to all the elders in Townsville. Those trailblazers 50 years ago, without them, Yumba Meta won't be here today. And I would particularly like to acknowledge our chair, retired chair now, but Dr. Ernest Michael Houlihan, who was the founder of the organization, who has guided our organization through his wisdom for 50 years. And I, for one, has been really fortunate to have the direct guidance from him until today. As you have seen, that we are a community housing provider, and also we provide 12 support services. I suppose we are different to a mainstream community housing provider, but very similar to other Aboriginal community-controlled organizations in that we do more than housing, because we feel that we need to provide support during different stages of a person's life journey. So our support programs and our housing are kind of combined, and they don't sort of work in silos. So every client who comes into us, it's I don't like to use these terms, but it's actually a no wrong door kind of model where we never turn people away. Some program of ours is able to assist that person at that point in time, and many of our clients have gone on to really thrive in life, and we have 12 of them employed in our organization today. So for us, that is a big game changer. And also how we are different is in that we take a really big step in advocacy, and we are only one of 2 specialist domestic and family violence service, and through the advocacy, we have got a place on the Townsville high-risk team for a First Nations cultural advisor who advises the entire domestic and family violence sector to make sure that our clients get culturally responsive support to meet their needs. So many of our management committee and our senior management staff sit on many reference panels, advisory panels, and boards, so that First Nations people have an equal voice to change policy, shape policy, bring about meaningful and sustainable outcomes for our people. We do collaborate with the mainstream sector, and we are very grateful to the Queensland government for providing us with funding to build a large number of houses. We also hold a significant land bank, so we become, that gives us an advantage when we are negotiating with government. You saw the Hillside Gardens program that that's a land development that Yumba Meta did. That was completely funded through reserves. We knew that governments will not even imagine a community-controlled organization taking it would have been seen as a huge risk. Now, we developed that 26 acres of land into 41 land lots, sold 30 plus, and retained 8. Now that's become a unique estate which has social housing, affordable housing, disability housing, and homeowners all living together in harmony. Now we got a lot of confidence from that project, and we are doing a second project also which has 40 lots, which will be starting end of this month. Coghill patient accommodation, we worked on that project for 10 years. We were finding that a majority of our homeless clients were coming into Townsville from communities for health reasons and falling into the cycle of homelessness. So as an early intervention, we have built this facility, a 40-bed facility. So we become the connector between the referral hospital and the Townsville hospital. So we meet clients at the point of wherever they arrive in Townsville. We make sure that they're transported to the hospital and they're supported through their engagement. And when they exit the hospital, they stay in our facility, and we'll work with them to make sure that they make their own decision as to whether they want to go back to community or they want to stay in Townsville. If they decide to stay in Townsville, Yumba Meta will work with them to integrate their family into the Townsville community, with supporting them connecting them with schools, housing, etc. So this is an early intervention step, and I think it's a groundbreaking project which has not been trialled anywhere else. So we are looking forward to starting, we're hoping to take the first patient on the 15th of November. And Yamameta also has become a very strong organization in Townsville. Even mainstream large organizations like Telstra, Toyota, all of them invite us to do presentations at their staff development days and special days when they celebrate with their staff. So we feel that we are leading the way towards breaking the barriers and the preconceived notion that people have about Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander community-controlled organizations. So for us, that is a big step towards building a better community and a strong sector, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander sector in Townsville. Thank you.
Thank you, Dushy. Lastly, I'd like to introduce Alisi Tutila, is a proud Warmai woman from Kurua. She is the chairperson of the Aboriginal Housing Company and has been working in the affordable housing space for the last 13 years. Alisi, alongside her team, have been instrumental in delivering 62 housing dwellings for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people or families. In Redfern, through the delivery of the UDIA Pemaway project, Alisi is also the CEO of Aspire Indigenous and holds various board capacities across early childhood and community sectors. You'll find all their bios on the NCH portal. Alisi, thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Before I start, I would also just like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land in which this conference is being held, pay my respects to elders past and present and emerging leaders. And thank you so much for the opportunity today. Before I start, I'm going to play a very short video.
My name is Michael Purser. I'm the site manager here at Pemaway 2 in Redfern. We have 4 levels here at Pemaway. Level 1 consists of childcare. Level 2, we have 4 retail lots. Level 3, we have 5 commercial spaces. And level 4, we have the NHC office.
Good morning, my name is Michael Mundine, but they know me as Mick Mundine. I work for the Aboriginal Housing Company. I've been with the company for 48 years this year in July. It's been a long journey, very tough and hard, but that's part of the journey, you know. You got to go through the hard times before you get to the good time. And what we are building here was for our next generation children and our people. Precinct 1, got the affordable housing and apartment, we've got 62. Now, Precinct 2 is the Pemaway project, the Pemaway hub, and that's where we are that's there to make money to keep our company afloat. Precinct 3 is we own the land, and that is student accommodation. We got 596 bed in there. How we got the money to build Precinct 1 and 2 is that we leased the Precinct 3 land on 99-year lease. It was a blessing. We want to build a community in the community. Break the vicious cycle of racism and, bring people together as human beings. And that's what we're doing. And I just hope and pray that everybody, pull together and look after the place.
I'll just share Uncle Mick. So we started the development late 2019. And I kid you not, this man is 70 7 years old this year, so he would have been 75. And I kid you not, he was on site at 6:15 a.m. as a self-proclaimed superintendent at the Pemway project. And I remember saying to him, Uncle Mick, you don't start work until 9. Why are you there at 6? He said, no, I'm just there making sure the boys have got their coffee and, that they're all right. And I said, Uncle Mick, they know you're nice. You don't have to go and pull anyone's leg. He said, no, but really, Gam, and the reason I'm there is I need to make sure they're caffeined up so they don't slack off on the job. They need to finish this. So I thought, you got to let them go. But as Dushy explained, it's the trailblazers like Uncle Mick and the founders that, makes today possible, makes me being here possible. I've been with the company now 13 years and I'm incredibly honoured to be standing in front of you today to talk about the Pemway project. Sustainable living. When we looked at the way the Pemway project was developed, 62 affordable houses, prime of the art real estate in the middle of Redfern, the middle of City of Sydney, people would always often say to me, Alisi, depending on what side, whether they were a developer, you're underdeveloping the site. What are you doing? You could have units everywhere here. But what was important to the board of directors, in particular the members, was that we built a community within a community, that we were able to manage the community. And I don't know if a lot of you are aware of the history of Redfern. It wasn't always a nice place. Yes, it was a very significant place. It was a meeting place. It didn't matter where you came from. People would go to that meeting place, or some would call it the watering hole, just to be able to find connections, find mob and link up with one another. But then it took a turn and there was a vicious cycle of crime and drugs and alcohol. I know firsthand. I spent my late teens there. Unfortunately, in my first week of moving onto the block, I woke up to somebody, I thought he was sleeping on the front doorstep and he had OD'd. But as a young teenager, what that did in that moment was really highlight and give birth to a purpose in me. And I knew that that wasn't the way that my people had to live. And I knew that the condition of that place at the time was not right. And who would have thought 13, 14 years later I'd be the chair of the Aboriginal Housing Company. We turned 50 this year, and it's just such an incredible milestone that we completed. We had our completion project for Pemway on the 25th of July, and it just happened to land on our 50th birthday. The vision of this project spans out a good 20-something years, but the whole DO process, we got a concept DA approval in 2012, and with that approval, we had 3 precincts. We had the affordable housing precinct, which consisted of the 62 houses. Then we had a commercial precinct, and then we had the student accommodation. And isn't it funny that even back in 1973, at conception of this company, those trailblazers and founders already had the concept of what diversification of income was. They understood back then that there needed to be a diversification of income in order for things to be sustainable. We copped a lot, like Uncle Mick said, a lot of persecution, a lot of hurdles. And in an ideal world, as an Aboriginal community-controlled organisation, as an Aboriginal developer in our own right, when you're building something, you would start with a commercial precinct, wouldn't you? Because it would generate the revenue and income, so then you could build the affordable housing. Because the reality was, long before my time, the Aboriginal Housing Company had been knocking on every single door, the state, the federal, philanthropic, everyone's door, hundreds and hundreds of doors, just seeking support to try and build the affordable housing. We stopped receiving all government funding in 2012, and we've been independent ever since. And I never forget, it was after when the 10 Embassy occupied our land for about 18 months, which unfortunately delayed a lot of the commencement of considerable works and nearly the expiry of our DA because it took so long. I never forget sitting at the table with a very close developer and mentor, Daycorp, with the managing director, Fuad, and he looked out the window and he said, Alisi, look out the window. His office faces straight onto our site in Redfern. He said, your site sits in between 2 of the biggest universities in Sydney, correct? And I said, yes. And he said, and your DA only allows you, because of the planning controls on that side, to go up 7 stories. But I'm sitting across here in a 20-storey high building. You're okay with that? He knew that would get me fired up. I said, no, of course I'm not okay with that. And he said, what are we going to do about it? So it was then we understood that we had to financially gear another solution. And that only solution was we had to stand independent because we know we couldn't rely on anybody else. And we went back to the Department of Planning and we went and we sought a modification on the student accommodation precinct to yield the height. Essentially what we did is we used the student accommodation as the donkey to carry the rest of the project. We developed the student accommodation site as a marketable product to then put in front of a student accommodation provider who then introduced the notion of a ground lease. Now, I'd never really heard of a ground lease. My board didn't. It took 2 years just to get the notion approved through my board. We couldn't get our heads around it. We'd heard of it maybe once or twice in Canberra, but not in Sydney. But when we understood the benefits and how that would be able to, benefit our communities, it was a no-brainer. I never forget sitting across the table with the owners of the student accommodation, and he was trying to make it sound really flash how much we could get for the next 99 years. Each year you've got this ongoing income, Alisi. And I turned around and I said, that's not going to help the solution that we need to address today. And he said, what do you mean? I said, we need the 99 years up front. And he said, done. So today we have a project that is completely independently funded through that ground lease, no debt, mortgage free. You'll have Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people living on that project forever and a day. We don't have to worry about any bank coming to try and take it. And that is just the most incredible feeling, probably one of the most rewarding roles and hats that I wear. So we've got 26 apartments, 2 and 3 bedroom. We've got 36 2, 3 and 4 bedroom townhouses. Now that in itself, I don't know if a lot of you know Sydney, but you don't see 3 and 4 bedroom houses anymore in Sydney. It's majority of the housing stock are units, particularly in the affordable and social housing space. So our tenants are very, very blessed with the product that they have. The other issue when we were creating the rental formula, because we had to develop one from scratch, was because of the market, the high market rent, even if we were to try and keep our charity status as a non-for-profit, given the market rent for a 4-bedroom brand new townhouse is anywhere between $1,200 and $1,500 a week, it wasn't affordable for our community. So we had to introduce a conservative market rate and then work back from there. So when we're looking at what we're actually offsetting or closing in terms of that gap as the Aboriginal Housing Company, it was anywhere between $600 to $1,000 a week per property. And that's when we understood that we had no other choice but to activate that commercial precinct. And the other, mixed feelings in the community was, why would you build a commercial precinct? There could have been so much more housing for mob. Well, that was the activation piece. Building that commercial precinct was the activation piece that enables us then to offset the cost for the rest of the project and, more importantly, lay the foundation for the future projects to come. And I'll also mention just in that is that a lot of our properties, both the units and townhouses, are all adaptable as well. I've talked a lot about the diversification of income. So we've got the 4 retail spots down the bottom, which we're about to lease out actually at the moment. We're just working with lawyers. We've already leased our childcare facility out. And then we've got a whole floor of 5 commercial office spaces. So if there's anyone here with national offices and you need an office, please contact me after this. Or if you want a good bubble tea, I can tell you we're going to have the best bubble tea here on the block. Then we've got the Arts and Cultural Centre. This was such an important space for us because it's so important that we can say that we're housing a living, thriving Aboriginal community in the heart of Redfern. That was always so important to our community, and probably one of the reasons why a lot of the Redfern Tent Embassy had a lot of frustration and birth, because they never thought that we were going to be able to deliver the Aboriginal housing. So to be able to house a cultural space on our facility that will then house a lot of our key support programs is just such an incredible opportunity. We've also been able to utilise, because it's a 2-storey facility, utilise the upstairs as a conference facility. We've had so many services already inquiring about this, and we've only just opened. Also, we're in the middle now of creating a whole merchandise platform. Because it's such a meeting place, people are just, what can we get that talks more about, you know, the block, more about Redfern's history. When we launch the opening on the 25th, we're exhibiting 12 months of the Aboriginal Housing Company. So for the next 6 months, we're exhibiting the 50 years of the Aboriginal Housing Company. So if anybody's in Sydney, please come down. We'd love to host you through. We've also got the state-of-the-art Ilura Tony Mundine Gym, which is 50 years old as well. That's also a 2-storey facility with over 770 members now registered, and that's been open for 24 months. So that's been incredibly successful, which we're very proud of. And this is Uncle Mick. His biggest passion and drive to keep pushing the project. Even, I remember when I first started and people were like, what? Why would you want to get into this, Alisi? Like, it's never going to happen. And every year this mayor would say, it's happening this year. He'd say it to the border door, it's happening this year. And he kept pushing it because the driver was the next generation. And we've always maintained that theme, that we are cultivating the next generation of leaders, and this is where that passion was driven from. In the student accommodation, even though we got our little payment up front, not so little, but enough, we were able to secure 110 beds for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander students. So we've got not just a thriving student accommodation community, but also we're starting to see the scholarships of our Indigenous students occupying this state-of-the-art facility, which is another incredible, proud moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Alisi. Such wonderful, great presentations. Really shows the strength in the sector for Aboriginal housing, and such a great display of resilience, hard work, and independence. I think is, you know, when we talk about housing programs and we talk about housing, we often means relying very much on, you know, rental incomes and government funding, and as we know, CRA doesn't cut it. So it's great to see, such strength in the sector. I'm now going to ask if anyone has any questions, and we'll have a roving mic here somewhere, and certainly we may have some online as well. So, any questions? Can't see anybody because of these lights. Wow, where? We've got a lady. Right here. Thanks, Susan.
Hello everyone, and thank you very much, ladies. Fantastic presentation to all of you. My name's Luke Strickland, and I come from the Gunai lands down in East Gippsland. Just wanted to hear your thoughts. You touched on the mob and the community around understanding that why we had property. Maybe sometimes it's not always about pumping into houses, but we can take other strategies and diversify into precincts and stuff like that, which will help support us moving forward, probably in a longer term thing. Although, like I said, our greatest needs right now are those bricks and mortar on the ground, so to speak. What were some of the conversations you had around informing community and elders and boards to have them at least think around that from an informed decision?
Melissa, yeah.
Yep. Oh, look, it was a very long process, and if I were to put a number, it was probably like a 5-year process of constant discussions with community. So much that because of those discussions and very broad mixed views, that we ended up in the Independent Planning Commission for approval because there were so many objectives. But again, having those discussions are important, because even if people aren't understanding completely what you're talking about, people then can't say they're not informed. But even those people that weren't, can I say, as supportive of it, most of those people, I can guarantee you now, are the ones either living in our houses on the precincts, or they've got children in our houses and are very much supporters now. So I think particularly with our mob, sometimes people have to see it, touch it and feel it to believe it. And I think being able to deliver what we have on the Penway project, people have seen that something like this can actually be done. But I guess, yeah, that mind shift out of always depending on government and waiting on government was a very difficult conversation to have, because yes, we believe that there are those entitlements there. However, we don't have the time to be dictated nor wait any longer for them to deliver our needs.
Thank you, Alisi. I think there was a question here.
Yep. Hi, thanks for that. Thanks for the presentations, they were fabulous. My question's for Dushy. I was really interested in the Hillside Gardens development, and I'm wondering if there's been opportunities for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people to get into home ownership in those estates you're developing.
There are 3 First Nations homeowners, young couples, who are the first homeowners to move into that site, and we were very proud of that. And we tried hard to get more, but it was not easy with home loans and things like that. But we have gained quite a lot of experience from that first one. So we are hoping that our second development will have at least 50% Indigenous home ownership.
Excellent. Do we have any others? Yep, one down here. We've got another one. Renee, do we have any online?
Thanks. I'm Kate Colvin from Homelessness Australia. I really loved hearing about the diversified funding models, and I think that's a really powerful way to sort of expand the organisation. But I'm also just really interested, because there has been a whole series of new social and affordable housing commitments made by the federal government, whether or not there's prospects in view to have access to those funds to expand what you're doing, and if not, what are the barriers to getting access to those funds?
Yeah, definitely is. Funny enough, before we started the project, nobody wanted to come and share a meal with us, and now they're all knocking on our door, wanting to shout the meal. So I think it's fair enough to say that, yeah, I'm very optimistic that that door is open for that support, particularly from the state and Commonwealth, but also the private sector. Working with those private sector, not just developers, but those corporates that have a commitment to, for example, your major banks, working very closely with us at the moment, designing specific facilities for Indigenous home ownership, because we understand, because of the housing crisis that we're in, that we're never going to close the demand in our lifetime. But how do we bring them, how do we kind of manage that medium so people are transitioning through that medium, and we're not seeing generational, kind of people just staying in the medium. So, yeah, I think it's a combination of, the successful model that we've delivered. So you've got the private industry as well as, the corporates involved and community.
Excellent.
Can I just add something for Noongar Maya? Obviously, because we're not a registered housing organisation, we literally have no saying until we become a registered organisation. So for us, our board are really towards self-determination and not relying on the government, because we just can't. And I think 2012 was the last time I think we were funded operationally, a couple of 100K or 100K. So it's been a long time, and it's been a struggle. I'm probably grey now, I don't know, but it's just hard work, and that's why, to me, it's all about building partnerships and collaboration, especially when you're a not-for-profit, and scraping by the skin of your teeth, every year. So, yeah, that's my opinion.
Thank you.
Paula, I just want to add to that. At Yumba Meta, we are partnering with the state government and the Commonwealth government, because one of the things that we see is the scale that is required, we are not able to respond to. So that's one of the ways that we are putting houses on the ground is by partnering with both the Commonwealth and the state.
I think it's about just building really great partnerships, and the Sisters of St John of God, you know, have been one of our biggest supporters. So, you know, it's a church group, and you know, we all know a lot of history about. So it's just something that you know, we're very grateful for, and Shelter WA also have been one of our good, you know, great supporters.
And so I think, you know, hearing about self-determination, sustainability, partnerships is what's part of making this, the three, quite successful, and, you know, just that not looking outside the box, not just keeping it within what is considered, you know, the norm in social housing, but actually expanding that. So is there any other questions before we finish up? Yep, got two. Who's three?
You first, then I'll back to answers later. Thank you everyone for your presentations. Again, my question's for Dushy around Yumba Meta. You've clearly got a range of operations happening through the organisation, and the land development is a fantastic step forward. You said you funded that from reserves. Can you tell us a little bit more about how you were able to build up those reserves over time that created that greater financial independence for you?
So the time that Townsville had economic downturn, I mean, for a long time we had that. It's just turned around on its head now. But at that time, like I told you, we had this very wise chairperson, and we built our land reserves very gradually over many years. So we used those land reserves, and then we sold some, made some money out of that, and that's how we built our reserves.
Thank you, Dushy. We've got two more, and then we might wrap it up, because we've got the yes referendum after this. No, kidding. Just have to put that in.
Hi ladies, I'm Leah. I'm from the local level alliance in the Brisbane region. My local level alliance is based in an Aboriginal community controlled organisation called Thangiah Youth and Family Development. We're just over the river that ways. But I definitely can relate as an ACCO that we supply so many other services due to wanting to give holistic and sincere care and understanding we can't just help with one thing, we need to help with multiple. And I come from a background of family support and community engagement, not so much housing. So I am so impressed with what you have all achieved in your areas. And I wanted to ask that, have you, like, I would believe you would have a big jump, not only in seeing the positives of how your families have flourished, but also your partnerships as well, and how building stronger partnerships and them getting to see the fruits of your labour can, I feel like, would feel very satisfying, but then would also lead to fertile ground for stronger partnerships with them. And I want to know, do you have any, like, the lack of a better word, good news stories of like how those places of housing and those housing programs have bled into your other support programs and to your other local support organisations as well?
I definitely do. So there will be a media release next week, so anyway, you will all know. So we got a donation of $3 million from an estate through word of, obviously we're very grateful for that, for the late Sonia Rogers. So she was, her family were from Midland Brick. Midland Brick is a very wealthy make bricks in Western Australia. And through that, we put a proposal in for, obviously more staff and so forth. We didn't spend the money for 12 months, and we've been working for about 3 to 4 years with Development WA on purchasing some land. I did ask them to give it to us, but they did, we have to buy the land. So we asked to divert some of the funds to purchase the land. So that's all happened. It's ready for settlement. Sisters of St John of God granted us $3 million. So we're now in the process of building 11 apartments for over 55s and their carers. Carers as in that aren't attached to Centrelink. So, you know, when you do public housing, just, you know, it could be the nana with the grandchild or, you know, sort of those kind of scenarios. And, they are prefabricated, so they'll take less than 6 months and they'll be ready this time next year. So that's something that we're really proud of.
Okay, I think we've got time for one more question, if anyone wants to, before we end this session.
Thanks, Paula. Can everyone hear me? Yeah, there we go. Rob McFarlane, I'm from the National Aboriginal and Torres Strait Island Housing Association. Mine's more of just an observation, but then following on from the session yesterday, where we were just talking about opportunities in the sector overall, and I was saying about the strength in the sector, and it's just, you know, it's just been displayed right here. I'd mentioned yesterday that I see it everywhere and I'm inspired, but each one of these stories is just so, it's just awesome. No organisation is just doing one thing. There's multiple things going on, and there's examples of this all across the country. So if anyone's in here from private industry or government, just know that this is the strength of the sector, and to jump on board. But yeah, it's not really a question. It's just, look,
Thanks, Rob.
I'm inspired by each organisation.
Yeah. And certainly, you know, it is inspiring. It's, you know, you've got 3 best practice models here today, and like many others around the state and country in terms of best practice and opportunities to exchange and to work closely with Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander communities is certainly a two-way. It's not just a one-way. And I really encourage for any mainstream organisation to get in touch with your local ACOs and community housing providers, because I think you'll find that, you know, we're way ahead in some aspects, which has certainly been displayed here this morning. So I will round off the session. Thank you all for coming, and certainly, you know, you'll find that this is recorded and on the NHC portal as well a little bit later. So thank you very much, and yeah, thank you, 3 lovely ladies, and yeah, enjoy lunch. Thank you.